one last question we ask everybody that we're doing this with. Who are your plant the flag players, regardless of team? Who are the guys you're going out and getting in every draft that you can?
Well, it seems like everybody's kind of hopping on the party wagon, but Daniel Jones and Darren Waller have to be at the top of the list. I think Darren Waller has top 3 tight end upside this year. I think he's going to contend for tight end 1 with Travis Kelce. I think Daniel Jones has top 5 upside. It sounds crazy to people, but he was just QB 10 and he barely threw the damn ball last year. So I don't know why it sounds that crazy, but here we are. That is honestly, if I'm going to sit here and put my stamp on a stack that I think is going to be a league winning stack. Like last year, I was everywhere talking about like draft Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. This year, it's Daniel Jones and Darren Waller. The other 2 guys that I want to bring up here again, Tony Pollard. I think he's going to absolutely just eviscerate. I think he's going to absolutely crush. I love him this year. Austin Eckler 2.0, sign me up. And the last guy I'll bring up here is my dark horse wide receiver 1 overall. He is going to continue the Cooper Kupp career arc. We're going to see Amon-Ra St. Brown just blow up this year. He's going to get 160 plus targets. He's going to get double-digit touchdowns. I'm here for it all. He's going to get some deep targets. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get 160 plus targets this year, and he is going to be amazing.
I don't want to just single out the one guy here, but I would just like that is the one thing that like you look at Detroit Lions and their target distribution last season, and you see guys like Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds pulling like 130, 140. Like I'm not going to count on those being that high this season. And like there was a text Goff sent to, I don't know who it was, about Amon-Ra is special or something. I think he sent it to the Ben Johnson. He said, Ben Johnson. And dude, it's exciting.
I mean, my thing with Amon-Ra, and I don't want to sit here and keep heaping on top of it, but the thing that people really don't understand with him is that outside of everything, and I know people are going to watch this, they're going to nitpick about like, there's no way in hell he's basically Keenan Allen. There's no way he gets to double-digit touchdowns. Well, after week 10 last year, he led all wide receivers, everybody
in touchdowns,
top of the hill, red zone targets.
That's awesome.
So he's going to get red zone work this year. That's going to happen. We've already seen that for half a season. And this offense over the final when it was 8 games, over the final 8 games of last season, they were top 12 in passing rate and neutral pace. So you marry that with a player like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is 3rd in target per route run rate, and you say, well, we're going to run more plays. You're going to run more routes. You're top 5 in getting targets when you run routes. So guess what? Your target volume is going up.
Okay, well, I don't know if I'm not letting any cat out of the bag with when this is being recorded, I don't think, but I will say Tank Dell was my rookie flag plant guy. I think I've got him in 70% of my rookie drafts this year, and it was a good start to the preseason for him, so I'm happy about that. I think at quarterback, I don't know that it's probably Tua. I think if Tua stays healthy, he's better than Trevor Lawrence this year. So how's that for a flag that's planted?
That's a good one. I like it.
At running back, it's probably Miles Sanders, although he did get the groin tweak, so we'll see how that works. Later, it's Montgomery. And then wide receiver is definitely Jahan Dotson.
I like it.
Heck, I'll throw in David Njoku as at tight end as well.
I love Calvin Ridley this year. I love Amari Cooper. Darren Waller is my guy. If I miss out on him, Kyle Pitts is another tight end that I like. Jahmyr Gibbs, Tony Pollard, Jalen Hyatt deeper in drafts. I think, those are a lot of my guys. I like strive to go into drafts and come away with those guys. And if you could give me a team full of those players, I would be very, very happy.
That's a great question.
That's a good question.
Regardless of teams, the guy that I find myself drafting more than almost anybody, I was just checking my underdog exposure this morning, is Marquise Brown. And Marquise Brown was a guy who was a ticking time bomb during his entire career in Baltimore, and he was held back by a terrible offense. And, we saw like the per route run metrics were off the charts, and we were just waiting for him to end up in a different team or in a different offensive system or whatever it may be. And then that happened last year. He got traded to Arizona and Cliff Kingsbury, and he had that connection with Kyler Murray dating back to college. And during the first 6 weeks, With no DeAndre Hopkins and a healthy Kyler Murray, he pulled 10.7 targets per game. He was the wide receiver 5 in PPR scoring. And right now, I understand why there's a discount on Marquise Brown, because we don't know if and when Kyler Murray is going to come back. But Kyler Murray will come back at some point. He doesn't have the same scrambling abilities that he had in years past because he'll be coming off the ACL tear, which means that Marquise Brown sits atop the depth chart. Once again, there's no DeAndre Hopkins there. He's going to be fighting against Michael Wilson and Rondale Moore and Greg Dortch for targets. So we're going to see him go right back into that 10, 11, 12 target per game role. And it's going to be late in the season when those games matter a ton. So right now you can draft Marquise Brown as a wide receiver 3. And the idea, at least what I'm hoping for, is that by the time fantasy football playoffs roll around, he's putting up wide receiver 1 numbers again.
I may be a little bit too much all in on this one player, but I'm going after Calvin Ridley. I know he's expensive. It's in the 3rd round, but I know what that young man can do. And you want to talk about playing with the chip on their shoulder. That poor kid has gone through a lot the last 2 years. I mean, with his mental health, and he took care of himself, but then he gets suspended. It's like, come on. But he's under Doug Peterson now, which I think is such a nurturing atmosphere for him to be in. And I think that after a few weeks, he's really going to start looking like the Calvin Ridley that we once knew. So I do have a strong opinion about Calvin Ridley. That one's a little bit more on the spicy side. For the quarterback position, don't forget about Jordan Love, everybody. Look what happened to Geno Smith.
Yes.
Yes, behind Pete Carroll, behind everyone that poor Geno Smith did for 13 years or however long he's been in the NFL. And he just came out swinging last year. And Jordan Levis had to do that same thing behind Aaron Rodgers of all people. And the team is really behind him. So I think that he's really going to surprise. I really like him as a high upside late quarterback option. Another one too, we're talking about these running backs by committee. I'm going to stick with the Jacksonville Jaguars here. And Tank Bigsby is someone I want everyone to, he's getting really popular. So that probably won't sound too spicy here. But
no, but like 2 weeks ago, this is like kind of spicy.
Right. It was kind of spicy. But Travis Etienne got an exorbitant amount of touches that were just way too much. And he even said he needed some help. They want to keep these young men fresh, especially for 17 weeks of this season. They want to go to the playoffs. They want to have a chance to succeed. And to do that in real football, you do need to be able to rotate these backs out. And Tank Bigsby, I mean, for his last name is Tank. So there's that. But he's a really special player. And I have a feeling this is going to be a lot more of a committee than people want. And I'm actually going to be going after Tank Bigsby over Travis Etienne.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll give you one at each position, and so one I'm getting in virtually every league is Michael Thomas, and that one is everyone knows the risk, right? But this guy, the reality is he hurt the ankle 2 years ago. Last year, it wasn't the ankle. People think that this guy hurt his ankle and then he didn't play ever since. First of all, the year he hurt his ankle, he played in the playoffs. He battled through it. He wasn't a diva. He played. Then in the offseason, he had surgery and he missed the whole year, right? So he didn't play the whole next year. That's why people think he hurt the ankle and missed both those years. He only missed the one.
And it was a bad ankle injury.
It was right. He had the tightrope surgery, but then he was, the thing is he played through it. He played through that ankle injury, but the surgery went poorly. That was the problem. So, but he missed the whole year because of surgery. Last year, he comes out, first 3 games, he's on pace for 90 receptions, which would have been the same as DK Metcalf. I know we can't extrapolate that out, but he also caught 3 touchdowns. If you want to extrapolate that out, that's 17 touchdowns. I mean, we're not going to do that, but he looked good. And then he didn't hurt his ankle. He hurt his toe. And it wasn't even his big toe. It was the one next to the big toe.
Okay.
And then once again, he tried to come back and play, and then it didn't work. So he had to have surgery. And that's what delayed everything. But now he's back. He's posted videos of him deadlifting a gazillion pounds. This guy is, if he just doesn't get hurt, he could be awesome, man. Yeah. And for once, you don't have to draft him as your wide receiver 1 or 2 or 3. You throw him on the bench, right? So that's what we're going for. Yeah, we're going for your whole bench is about upside. The upside of this guy, if he doesn't get hurt, is that he's Michael Thomas. Does that sound pretty good? Right.
That he's a wide receiver 1. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Derek Carr can feed him the rock. Even with Chris Olave there, he could feed him the rock. Right. And that's why what we look for, and you've seen this professional segue, what we look for in a tight end is a top 2 target on the team. If you go through and look at the top 50 all-time tight end seasons, the difference-making seasons, there's maybe 1 or 2 where the guy wasn't a top 2 target on the team. And we're talking like 2014 Martellus Bennett, just complete outliers. Virtually everyone is a top 2 target on the team. So I look at a guy like Darren Waller and I say, why can't this guy lead the team in targets? Right? 100%. And it's very few guys have got double-digit targets in the game ever. I've seen this guy get more than 15 on 4 different occasions. I've seen him have 19. I've seen him have 200 yards against the Jets. Like, this guy is absolutely capable of just monster performances. And now the conditions that allowed for that, back when Antonio Brown got kicked off the team for bringing a fake helmet to practice and freezing his feet off, right? Like, those conditions are kind of right. We're kind of back, right? Like,
wild.
He called the GM a cracker. Like, oh my God. Like,
so wild.
I want Antonio Brown back. I want him to start a podcast. That's what
I was going to say. I just want to interview the guy.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to him for 2 minutes.
I get 2 minutes might be a long time, dude. With Antonio Brown in the house. So yeah, Darren Waller, man. It's like, I look at Dallas Goedert, and to me, that guy is more of like a handcuff plus. Very safe, but he needs an injury to one of the wide receivers to really have upside. Whereas Waller, he could have it right off the bat. Of course, he's risky, but every tight end, for the most part, is, man, who cares, right? All right. Running back, Miles Sanders, dude. Lock that in for me. You look at you're in. He's going to, he just left a team where everyone loves the line and they love the RPO, and it blinds us to the fact that Jalen Hurts had the second most carries inside the 5-yard line behind only Jamal Williams, not of any quarterback, of any player. And that team threw the fewest passes to the running back of any team. Bottom. And the other 2 teams that were the bottom 3 were the Ravens and the Bears. What do those teams all have in common? Mobile quarterbacks. Yeah. And I was like, maybe this isn't the only thing. I went back and I looked at when Doug Peterson was a coach in 2019. He threw 39 screen passes to just Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. Just those 2 players. This past year, Miles Sanders and Boston Scott combined for more snaps than they did in that year. Guess how many screen passes Nick Sirianni threw?
This year, I would say 15.
6.
Maybe. 6. Okay.
6, dude. 6.
So 10,
15 would have been a huge drop from 39, right? 10 would have been a crazy drop. 6 is meaningless. It's nothing. Dallas, they throws a lot more screens to guys like Dallas Goedert. So you take that guy, Miles Sanders, you go and put him on a new team where Scott Fitterer, the offensive coordinator, I posted a video on my YouTube not on my YouTube, on my Twitter, of him saying, hey, we're going to throw you the ball a ton. Remember when you caught 50 passes? That was fun, right? Like, it's the perfect clip for guys that like Miles Sanders. So why not go for upside there? That's my play there. And the last one is pretty boring. My quarterback, I love Tua, but he's actually going in the QB1 range. So, Tua, if I can get him at a good price, I like him. The other one is Russell Wilson. And the reason I'm in on Wilson, QB 15 last year, he finished QB 15, despite how awful everything was and how it was just a nightmare with Nathaniel Hackett. And now they bring in Sean Payton, man. And look at Trevor Lawrence with the nightmare with Urban Meyer. And then Doug Peterson, a real coach, comes in, and everyone's like, oh, that's what a real football team looks like, right?
Lawrence is actually pretty good.
That's funny how that happens, right? Like, they didn't even change that much besides that. They just brought in a guy that wasn't totally weird.
Ooh, regardless of team. Okay. It's actually probably like Josh Jacobs. Like, I did the Flex League draft last weekend with Jake Seeley, and before I walked in, I tweeted, like, I think I was picking 10th, and I tweeted something like, don't draft Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams at the 1-2 turn challenge, parentheses, impossible. Because that's something that I've done way too much this year, and I'm trying to diversify. But for me, like, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, there's a couple of backs. I know Joe Mixon has a couple of trials that we're waiting on the outcome for that I don't really know what to make of. But, like, those are 2 guys that you talk about a 3-down role. You talk about a lack of competition for touches. If those guys are active and healthy, I think they're both probably top 7 running backs this season. So I have a lot of those guys, and I believe Josh Jacobs and Joe Mixon is my backfield in the Flex League.